Guys, it's time again for an update video on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. We're going to take a close look at these three coins in particular. If I still have time and the video doesn't get too long, we'll take a look at some others as well. I have to be honest, I missed this pump, I missed this dump, and also this recent rise. Why didn't I trade that? Why didn't I do anything? Because everything was driven by news. I shared it on Telegram. Trump made an announcement. They are in negotiations with Iran. The price exploded here with Bitcoin. Ethereum and other altcoins also went up. The S&P 500 rose, gold went up, silver went up, and oil completely crashed. And if you followed this a bit, apparently there were incredibly large short positions placed on oil beforehand and massive long positions placed on the S&P 500. And once again, this looked a lot like insider trading. But what happened up here? I shared this with you on Telegram. This news that Trump released here, no one from Iran could confirm it. Apparently some people spoke who had nothing to do with Iranian officials. And supposedly there is some kind of 15-point plan, which apparently cannot be accepted by Iran at all. But what happened? Fake news, everything sold off again. Yesterday Trump released more news saying they are negotiating a 1-month ceasefire. And if you look into it again, I can only recommend that you watch neutral reporting. I know these Western media are rather one-sided, but if you go on X, if you look at the official reports from Iran, meaning the actual government statements, or here Al Jazeera, I know they're not so popular with investors, but they also provide very neutral reporting, neither pro nor con for any side. They just say what's really going on there. But there is an official video in which the following is also said: they should not see their defeat as an agreement, whatever it is they have now. And everything has been denied again, at least as things currently stand. What does that mean for the Bitcoin short? At the moment, I still see a possibility here. We have a major liquidation. We also need to zoom out a bit. Right now, at this moment, what I see would be a short opportunity based on this bearish Fibonacci, where we're already above the 0.5 level. That's the very first thing. But we have a massively large liquidation here on a weekly basis. We'll also move on to higher time frames. This weekly liquidation could be relevant. I think that could be interesting now, but we need to be careful in this area now because we have at $75,000, there's another huge cluster lying there. That's something I pay very close attention to. You can see here, this is the current liquidation I'm talking about. For me, there's no question that this will also be taken out. At least right now, we're in the process of dipping into that area if you look at it. But I want to show you something a bit different when we zoom out. Down here at around 65,000 US dollars, we have a large cluster as well. At the same time, 100 million US dollars from a single person are waiting here in a Bitcoin long position. There are 1,150 Bitcoins involved here. Where did I discover this large sum? If I turn this off now and turn this off as well. And if I zoom in a bit here and focus exactly on this part, I can see that here, 99.09 million US dollars are waiting. This means if I switch this to coins, then we'll see everything in coins. Then we see that there are 1,520 Bitcoins waiting here for a long position. At the same time, you hit exactly this area when I bring up the 1-month liquidation heat map, which worries me the most. I already mentioned it once in the last live stream. It's not so nice, but we have a massive amount of liquidity in that area. The problem is we don't have a small cluster like we had here or here, but instead we have a large cluster at 67,200. And what really becomes dangerous is this area down here because an incredible number of people are being liquidated from their long positions at the same time. I can imagine that if it really drops down here so that we can pick all of that up because letting so many people be in profit at the same time. For the big institutional players, for the market makers, I honestly still don't know to this day if they would really allow that to happen. And that's why this will be an interesting level, which I have also marked here for myself. The first strong cluster is up here, also where 100 million US dollars worth of Bitcoin are waiting. In the individual position, I'll show you this again in detail right here. You can see it here. At $65,400, there are nearly 100 million waiting for the long positions. And below that is the large cluster of liquidations, which is also included in this. We're not going to talk about the lower clusters just yet. We'll take a look at those only if we break downwards. But at the current moment, it just looks to me like we're going to target exactly this upper area here. Let's go through the next 2 weeks again now. And I'll also show you what we still have lying at 75,000 US dollars and why those are the next levels. For me, that's the point where I would say I would now open a futures short position. For several reasons, right now it's still a bit too risky for me. In the Signal group, I've set up a bot that's already going short here, but we would open another one if we reach this point. But we're secured up to over $87,000 in this regard before we would get liquidated. And accordingly, that's of course a safer option, the way this bot is set up. But the 75,000 to 75,500, if I enter here, just look at where that is. If we now include this here as well, around 75,500, even if we go a bit above it, depending on how long it takes, if we move higher, it would again be at the top of the bear flag. And for that, I would go into the daily chart, then you can see it a bit better when I zoom in here like this. I'm also going to turn off these Fibonacci levels now. They're not that interesting at the moment. That's just for me to see. Okay, if we really do get a rejection, I would have the Fibonacci confirmation again, although overall we shouldn't forget that either. Here we have this bullish trend in the daily chart, which is still intact. But on the shorter time frames, it currently looks rather bearish. For this reason, I'm taking the risk at this point with this short bot. But what I actually wanted to show earlier with this cluster up here, so the liquidation cluster that we have here at 75,000 US dollars, what's included in that, even if I switch to Model 1, we see on a 2-week basis a very, very interesting level that's included here with a bit above it as well. That would hit directly at the top here. And then for me, it would be time to open a new short position again. At this point in time, that's a bit risky for me. But what we also have, and why it could happen, so that I could expect a rejection here, nothing is guaranteed, is also due to this fair value gap. Liquidation guess the fair value gap possible bearish Fibonacci rejection level. From my perspective, I have therefore set up a halfway low risk bot that still gives me good protection even if prices rise. Up above this fair value gap here in this case, because the next liquidation is up here at the price of 85,000, which is also very significant. Before we continue with Ethereum, I would of course appreciate it if you subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, a like, a comment and a video for the algorithm. By the way, this also goes for all regular viewers. I've actually prepared some incredibly exciting videos for the bear market bottom, or rather how I plan to catch it for myself in the best way. Because among other things, I have a coin margin here. Grid trading bots, where in this case I used Ethereum, and for example, this bot has generated almost 10% in Ethereum. Here, for example, this one is 3% in profit, this one is 6.64% in profit, and this one is 6.21% in the negative. But I showed you a video back then on my channel. If I go back here, in the trading bots playlist, I have this video. With this trading bot strategy, I automatically multiply my cryptos. I published that 3 months ago, where I also opened the first trading bot with 2,885 US dollars. If I click on it now, it is meanwhile already guaranteed more than 10%, the firm profit. And my break-even price is now already at 2,328 US dollars. And all of these have liquidation prices just above or below 1,000 US dollars. In the worst case, I could also secure these additionally. Also, for those who don't know how to possibly catch the bear market bottom, there's more to come. Or the fear of missing out, exactly with this strategy. Here, I use it every time with my trading bots on Bitcoin, but also during panic. It works for both opening and generating profits. You can see the bot history here. These are always the realized profits that come in. But I have a new strategy for myself, how I, with a slightly modified tactic, am I prepared for the bear market bottom? But I also don't take the take profit as usual. Instead, it should really buy in using dollar cost averaging. In that case, I would also use the multiplier. People who know the bots know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I can only recommend that you watch the first video in this playlist. 100% passive income on autopilot. It really works every single time. It's just incredible. I've been doing this for over 2 years now, exactly in this area, just as I'm showing here. And it just runs like clockwork. Let's now take a closer look at Ethereum. What I covered in the last video, where we already went through something regarding this liquidation zone. You see, that was already marked back then as well. The clockwork was perfectly triggered, basically. And afterwards, there was this pump. Of course, that also had to do with the news, but we can set that aside for now. But what does it look like now with the other liquidation zones? We now have a broadly spread liquidation cluster above us. We can take a look. If we switch to the 3-day chart, you can see that we have quite a bit of liquidity lying here, which is certainly not uninteresting, so that it could be picked up. But that's not all. We have even more above that if we look at the weekly chart, for example, but also below. And that's where things really get wild. This red cluster here between 2000 and 1900 and a bit more, that's lying there. Huge amounts of liquidity that I want to share with you. Sorry, you can also see the current cluster here with Ethereum at 2,000 US dollars. It extends into this area here if we only take Model 1 now. But for me, of course, Model 3 is interesting. That's what I just showed you again here. And now let's briefly look at the monthly chart so I can show you what I mean when I say that we have a massive amount of liquidity beneath us here. This red area here is a huge cluster. I didn't mark it in red for nothing. I also set an alert here, and there's a reason for that. Why this alert is here, right? I know that when we reach this level, whether I do something with a position here or not. But now if we look at the monthly chart, just take a look at this. For me, this is the big cluster I'm talking about. There's an incredible amount here. And now maybe remember what I said about Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, we have an area that is very broad and where an incredible number of people have liquidations. And we see the same thing here with Ethereum. A price range from $1,906 to $1,814. No matter how bullish you want to be right now, it certainly doesn't hurt, at least that's my approach, to keep an eye on exactly this level. to see if I can increase my long positions down here, which I already have open. That would be exactly this one here. That's my entry, my current one. But at this point in time, I have a buy limit at 1,760 and 1,500 US dollars. But these 1,760 US dollars, I'll probably adjust that a bit as well to align with the liquidation heat map. And I'll be monitoring that regularly too. Otherwise, at this point, it's more the case for me, even with Ethereum, that I think we'll see another rise before the sell-off comes. What would support that view here? We have this area. We can go back to the chart again. I've also marked it here. This liquidation cluster that's located in this area, this is the broad one. If we now look on a weekly basis, you can currently see a lot of fresh liquidity flowing in here as well. A lot of shorting is happening. Let's wait for the market to open, but again, it's spread out broadly up to around 2,275 US dollars. That would be roughly within that range. And that would also be here after this big sell-off where a lot of short volume came in, that we might revisit this area up to the top of this bear flag that we have. We had a breakout, a retest, and maybe that was just a fake out. We'll really see whether that's the case or not, so that we get another rejection here and pick up these larger clusters below us. So that's the current situation right now with Ethereum as I see it. Otherwise, above that, we have this price target here. In the area I've marked, we have a liquidation cluster above us from 2,460 to 2,500. That's also where the 1.618 target level from this move lies, because we still have this bullish structure intact. And the next thing that will really get interesting is if we go up there and break through that as well. I see the 1809. That area will be super exciting, especially when I look at the daily chart, because there we see multiple confluences. If we rise up to that level, I'm really looking forward to shorting it. It's at 1,809. A smaller 0.618 Fibonacci, a larger 0.5 Fibonacci retracement. That would be this high and this high marked here. But in addition, something that often gets picked up as well, another confirmation, is this fair value gap here, which is at 2,552 US dollars. Something else that could come into play here, we must not forget, we still have a CME gap in that price range. Accordingly, I naturally work with a stop loss here as well, but if we really see a rapid surge due to some news or something similar, then this will be the area where I open a larger short position for the first time again. Now, to wrap things up, let's talk about Solana, which is also very, very interesting. With Solana, we still have two liquidation levels that remain open. Now here at the price around $85 to $83, but a very strong, truly incredibly strong further level, you have to zoom out a bit for this, at 75 US dollars, which will also be very interesting as it could come back into this wick if we look at it in the liquidation heat map over 3 months. So you see here these $75 that I mean, which really stands out. Above us, of course, there is quite a bit distributed, but this cluster here, I think this could be very interesting for the market makers if everything drops down. Looking at it on a 1-month basis, these are also the reasons why I have a position at $84.58 here to compound my current trade, but also something again at $75 and even at $62 US dollars. If it really should drop down this far, then you would have to zoom out even further. But that's still a thing of the future. We don't want to go that far yet. That's the next cluster I'm talking about. To be honest, if we see liquidations on such a large scale like this here on a 1-month basis, and something shines so brightly, for me that's actually so attractive that the price is driven there. And if we now look at this again on a weekly basis and consider it purely from a liquidation perspective within a week, which is where we are right now, it looks very interesting because we are once again picking up a massive amount of liquidations, and here a possible new rejection level could emerge, which might later bring us to this 85 US dollars. If we now look at everything together on the legend, we can see here as well. A large order volume at 86 US dollars, where 127,000 Solana are waiting for a long position. And above us, now just above us, which isn't that far away and has just recently increased, as you can see here, at this moment we see that around 150,000 Solana are waiting for a short position at a price of $95.07. These $95, if we look at that on the liquidation heat map, that would be exactly this last cluster here, or rather on level 3, it's included here, meaning we still have to reach this area. So if we pump up to here, there will definitely be a very large sell-off volume waiting. Entry. If we look at this here on a smaller time frame, I'll switch to the 4-hour chart now, even though really here. So, in my opinion, Solana currently has a cleaner price structure than many other coins. But if this is used as a Fibonacci reversal, as we'll see in a moment, that would be roughly the 0.786 level where we would enter, which is exactly this high here. If I now extend this flag here, which we still have open, it might line up with that. In this price range, that would be around $96. So maybe this is being targeted so that we can use exactly this rejection level once more and then continue to move down afterwards. We'll see. It's definitely going to stay super exciting. Alright, that's it for now. Don't forget to leave a subscription and a like. Stay tuned for the next videos, which I've already announced in advance. They're going to be really exciting so you can prepare optimally for the bull market.